Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the
Oh,
Opportunistic Trader. It is 3 o'clock, just after 3 o'clock on November 14th. Crazy energy day, crazy energy week, and now we're joined by Mark Fisher, who's been giving us a lot of energy information. Mark, how's it going?
it's going. It's going.
It's going. Yeah, I spoke to you about 6 a.m. this morning when nat gas was limit up before you were on CNBC this morning talking about it. So what have you been seeing out there now?
It's just the same. I think people still are unwinding the long crude, short nat gas trade. I think with the beginning of the winter, so no one can be short. Um, and I think that in some sick way, if you're long crude or if you've been long crude and short nat gas for the past 5 years and done extremely well on a macro level, so now if you're covering your nat gas, you at the same time have to sell crude. It's convoluted reasoning, but that's what's going on here,
So have you
simply.
been seeing, do you know of some people that have been doing that and caught in that trade?
Yeah, I know a lot of people have been going that trade.
And is
You
it
know,
been kind of like a slow motion sort of thing for the past? Oh, I wouldn't say slow motion, but like the past 2 weeks sort of thing. As we've seen crude drop from 77 to 55, and nat
yeah,
gas.
yeah. And on top of it, there's something else. There's the end of the year rebalancing, and everybody knows that the end of the year rebalance is it's going to have to there's going to have to be a big rebalance in the first half of January, where they're going to have to sell nat gas. And typically, when they sell, a lot of nat gas, and that nat gas has to be sold is based on rebalance of the Bloomberg index and the GCSI, and they're going to be selling now. It's going to be over 100,000 contracts in nat gas. So typically, what people go ahead of that move and they get short into that adjustment, thinking that if they sell it in December, it's going to be too late. Well, all those people that got short prematurely, selling the rebalance ahead, have gotten another group have gotten blown out of the water, right? So what ends up happening is, it come January, beginning of January, there's going to be 100,000 lots or more, depending on the price of nat gas that have to be sold. But it's way too soon to start, thinking about that, and that's another thing that caught the market.
Also, we've been speaking a few times last week and earlier this week. You were talking about possibly some China stuff as well being involved with part of this nat gas move. Tell me about that.
Well, logically, if you think about it, if there's going to be a sit down later this month between Trump and the chairman in China, and they want to really move the needle to some degree, or at least seem to move the needle, what are you going to move the needle in? Soybean exports, corn exports? We really can't. We have a lot of excess nat gas. We can, LNG prices are so inflated overseas anyway. So if we enter into a long-term nat gas LNG partnership with China, that does that alleviates the balance of trade to some degree and the balance of payments. That makes Trump look good, makes the administration look good, and at the same time, it probably would pick up demand on the whole whole nat gas curve, not just the front obviously, but more towards the back. And I think that's something that people haven't focused on either.
Yeah, so what's next? Is it? I mean, people have been all over the place. I mean, nat gas right now up 70 cents. We were just trading $3 a few weeks ago. Here we are at 4.80. Uh, What's the positioning in sort of when you get this sort of volatility? It's been moving in 10-cent increments here. How do people position themselves?
You gotta trade. Either you gotta trade close to the vest, or you gotta buy straddles and trade around them, or you gotta trade. At certain times when you feel that there's when the market shows its hand, when people are liquidating and you just see the indiscriminate buying in March, or whatever the case may be, and you gotta watch the weather carefully. I mean, there's a lot of factors going on, but I still think nat gas is also uncorrelated to any other asset class. It's uncorrelated to equities. It's uncorrelated to bonds. It's uncorrelated to some degree to other energies and commodities. So when something becomes uncorrelated, which is what people love, and it's got momentum behind it, then every idiot in the world is, and every idiot in every computer starts trading it. Everyone's a momentum junkie. Find something that can go up and it's not correlated. Look at this. Now, how much is the S&P down right now?
Down. Actually, we're not down a whole lot right now. We're only down a third of a percent. We've just
Right.
rallied back 40
Right.
points, basically.
I'm saying, but Nat Gas was rallying when the S&P was going down. Nat Gas was rallying when the S&P was going down.
Yeah.
They don't get. I don't think you need to put the Nat Gas into the terminology when you talk about the ECB or about Italy and whether they're going to and their spending limits or anything. I mean, I think that's what people want. People want something that's not correlated to anything else. And right now, again, I'm talking my position, but nat gas fits that book.
Yeah, it's probably the only correlation we're seeing right now to nat gas is the weather. A bit of a
Well, that's
weather.
obviously right. That's obviously weather. But here's my question to you, Mike: has our friend Lawrence Benedict started to look at the natural gas options, or has he not turned on that screen?
Okay, so here's what we've done today. We spent some time going through your recent videos on our site. And even the last comment you just made there is something I've heard a few times today where you said, I'm talking my book because you've been along and you've been talking your book with us. And it's funny, Larry has a sound clip or two in there where he says, call me when we get above $5, then I might get involved. So we haven't been quite above 5 yet.
Not involved.
Not involved. Anyway,
but I'm looking at the straddle right here. So the straddle, which has 13 more days left in it, 480 is trading about 60 cents right now.
Right.
And to be honest, I mean, given today's move, it's tough to say that that's even high at this point, given this recent move. But the straddle when you were on, let's say 2 weeks ago, was about 30 cents total.
Right. Exactly.
I think the first time when we were around, one time were talking about a $3 straddle that was priced at 20 cents when we were right around $3. Right. And then about 2 weeks ago, we were trading 30 cent was the at the money straddle. And, here we are with only 13 days to go and it's 60 cents. But, look, we just had 80-cent range in the spot. And, the back months, March, I think they were saying at one point was double limit up. It's, we've seen some crazy volatility here.
Interestingly, around Thanksgiving usually is when you start seeing some weakness to the market. It'll be interesting to see if that happens this year. But again, I talked about this a little bit in CNBC today. The sunspot activity that people think that I'm, talking from some kind of my favorite Martian show is really true. If you go look at the NASA logs and the databases, NASA pays a lot of attention to the sunspot activities that emanate from the sun, because what sunspot activity does, high sunspot activity means basically that there's, there's more heat coming from the sun, and typically that goes in and protects the outer layer of the atmosphere. And the outer layer of the atmosphere is is basically a shield. So when that shield has a lot of more particles in it, obviously we're warmer. Right now, and every 10, 12 years is when this cycle changes. And this is going to be a cold winter and a low sunspot, winter. And I mean, why can't natural gas go to $8? I mean, what's going to stop it? If there's, can it go back to, if the weather changes, can it go right back to $3? Of course it can. And the reason why people don't want to buy nat gas, because they've seen so many full years where the market has just failed because of bad weather, that they've gotten tired and afraid and scared to be long. To some degree, the trade in nat gas it's interesting. You know how people are scared to be short S&Ps because everything goes out or whatever. I'm telling you, the sentiment in the marketplace is people are scared to be long at these levels. And if you're scared to be long at these levels, it's probably still going up.
Yeah, well, especially it's like same thing with mortgage rates. The 30-year mortgage around 5%. People were like, "Oh, that's so high." Whereas 10 years ago, it was certainly not high at all. But a year and a half ago, it was at 3.7%. Nat gas, people take a look at the chart, and a year and a half ago it was at 250.
No, but I'm saying is the sentiment out there from people I speak with is people are more scared to be long than they are scared to be short.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you're more scared to be long than you are scared to be short, which way is the market going?
Right. Higher is the and even you take a look at like the skew. Typical markets, there's a put skew where the puts are typically higher. In nat gas, it's almost a call skew.
I have no idea. That I don't know, but that's beyond my pay grade.
What about real quick? What about crude oil? Just been crazy volatility there as well. Yesterday we traded down to $55. We got a small up. Today's the first day. Hey, up day. It's officially settled. First up day in 13 days.
All right. I mean, I don't know. I think that to some degree, someone got their plastered on it. But more importantly, I think what's happened is you're seeing an unwind. You're seeing unwind where people are selling, a boatload of crude and Brent and buying nat gas. And I think that also this whole thing with, took everyone back with the Iranian 180-day, let up in the sanctions for all these countries. I also think that to some degree, this talk that came out about Saudi Arabia considering about what happens if, the relevance of OPEC doesn't help things. But, to some degree, if nat gas is going to be, if this is going to be a cold winter, then the next trade to probably put on is to be long heat cracks, because if it's really going to be cold, no matter what the price of crude is going to be, heating oil in the harbor is going to, is going to be relatively, expensive relative to crude. So I would think that for, pretty soon, I think that heat cracks are probably the right way to, to position yourself.
Sounds good. Well, I'll let you run on that last one. Have a good. We aren't going to speak to you the rest of the week, but we'll check in with you next week.
Okay. By
Good
the way,
luck, Fish.
see you later, Laura. Bye.
All right. Take care.